Bonjour, bonjour, welcome to this new video. Alright, obviously a question that I've had over the years was, what is the difference between French from France and French Canadian? How big is the difference? And well, to be quite honest, there's much more of a difference than with French from Switzerland or Belgium. But it's a tricky question. And here's why. For instance, I had friends from Canada, from Quebec, and for a year I was with them all the time. And it was fine. We had conversations every day. It was not a problem. I could understand them. They could understand me. But I think it's easier for Canadians to understand French people because I think they've always grown up watching French movies. So that's always been fine. We've never really had Canadian movies. So that's something that's more new to us now. So one-on-one, I think we can have a conversation with Canadians most of the time. And it depends how they are able to adjust to our French. I think that's what it is, because I've had other conversations with Canadians from Quebec, and I could really not keep up with them at all. If you ask a French person to go watch a stand-up comedian from Quebec, chances are they're not going to understand more than 20-30% at best. If you watch a pretty funny, by the way, cartoon that was a little bit like The Simpsons, but not really. It was called Les Têtes à Claque in Quebec. Again, without subtitles, I don't think we could understand more than 20-30%. So it's all relative. It's mostly due to pronunciation, big difference of pronunciation. It's also due to a lot of different vocabulary that they use, okay? And that's different. So today, I'd like to give you my top 10 vocabulary words that I've learned from Canadians and that I love. And I love that difference. And again, when it comes to vocabulary, I wouldn't say one is right or wrong. They're just different, period, okay? The first one is very interesting. If you look at French culture, we have our Catholic calendars that we all use. And on those Catholic calendars, we all have a saint for every day of the year. For example, on April 22nd, every year, people will say Bonne fête Alex, because it's Saint Alexander. Okay, so we say Bonne fête Alex. But in Canada, Bonne fête means happy birthday. All right, and anniversaire is an anniversary. Okay, but fête is birthday. So Bonne fête in Canada is happy birthday. In France, it's Bon anniversaire. Something very interesting. One day I was with my friends and the husband says to his wife, tu peux sortir les vendanges? And from a French word, I think I love how I do that Canadian accent. I just love it. But anyway, it can be annoying for Canadians to hear me do that, but I just love it. But anyway, so vendange for French people is an oil change on a car. And he meant, can you take out the trash? So la vendange, or les vendanges, oftentimes used in the plural, so les vendanges, that would be the trash. So he meant, can you take out the trash? I heard, can you take out the oil change, which made no sense, but I just looked at what happened. I thought, okay, the vendange is the trash. Interesting. That's Canadian. Number 3, it was pretty funny one day coming back from a party, I think, a long time ago, and my friend says, I need to put stuff on the saucepan, and for the saucepan, she said le chaudron. And to me, chaudron is only a word I've seen, heard in old literature, and it's a cauldron, really. So a big pot, where Merlin, the sorcerer, would make his potion, I guess. And that's, they only. And so for them in Canada, that's just a saucepan, a regular saucepan, d'accord? For us in France, that would be called une casserole. They call it un chaudron. Another one that I loved was, for garer une voiture is to park a car. In Canada, I think they like to use the verb stationné, okay, which is okay. I don't think we use that. Stationnement is for parking. That's the official term that we would see on signs at least. But that one other guy talked about, j'ai stationné mon citron. So 2 things. Citron, a lemon, that's a slang word that they use for a car, which most of the time would be called une auto in Canada. Some people in French countryside, I think, or other places more rural would call une voiture une auto, possibly. I would call it une voiture, really. But then, un citron, a lemon for a car, interesting, right? And what's also interesting is that in terms of pronunciation, what makes it hard to get is that we would never skip that I in citron. We skip a lot of letters and syllables, but not that I. And they do, which makes it terribly hard to understand. Number 1, that's the word citron. Number 2, that citron is actually a car, d'accord? So there you go. Un citron in Canada is a car, a ride. You'll hear Canadians say vous autres a lot, which is very interesting because it sounds exactly what they would say in Spanish, naturally, for the subject pronouns. Vosotros, which is you all, really. You other guys, okay? And they naturally use it in Canada, vous autres. To us in French, we understand, and some people might use it sometimes, but it sounds, it's judgmental, but it sounds like it's low class. But in Canada, it's really common to say that, vous autres for you guys, okay? Something that's very Canadian is to use the subject twice to ask a question. And they naturally use the inversion and use the subject twice. Very interesting. You'll see that on mugs as souvenirs because it's very Canadian. And so you'll hear a lot of questions that begin with tu veux-tu, do you want? They say tu veux-tu venir à la maison, tu veux-tu dîner avec nous, tu veux-tu, but you can use other verbs, tu aimes-tu le café, and things like that. Okay, very interesting. We would never say that, obviously, in France. Another word that I loved that I heard used in such a different way was débat. Débat for the French are stockings, okay, or tights, all right? If you want to make a technical difference between the two, you let me know what it is, but I'm not quite sure. But so yeah, let's say they're tights, okay, that women wear. For us, that's débat. But in Canada, they're socks. They call them débat. So it was confusing, I thought. But there you go, another difference. The hosties, that bread that Catholics eat at church, the bread at church. So it's called hostie, and the way Canadians pronounce it is sti when they speak a little fast, sti. And it's a way of swearing. They use a lot of words related to church and religion to swear. And hostie is one of them. It's like, damn it. It might be worse than damn it, really. But so yeah, sti. They say sti. They throw it at the beginning or at the end of sentences. So if you ever catch that in Canada, you'll know what it is. So now, Canadians tend to criticize the French because we use too many English words, which is true. That being said, they tend to use French words where we use English words, which always sounds weird to us. But they do use plenty of English words where we would not. So, it's an endless argument that we'll have with Canadians. But something that I find pretty funny is that a watermelon is called une pastèque in France, and they tend to translate English words word for word and make them French Canadian words. So a watermelon, which we call une pastèque, would be called un melon d'eau, literal translation of watermelon in English. Un melon d'eau for watermelon, une pastèque. And finally, you will hear the term pièce. Pièce for bucks for Americans, quid for the UK. So they will say ça coûte 100 pièces. Ça coûte 100 pièces. That means it costs $100 or whatever currency, dollars that they use in Canada. So it's $100. Ça coûte 100 pièces. So it sounds like pièce. It cost 100 coins because une pièce in French is a coin, but that's not exactly what it is. Very interesting. You'll hear that a lot in Canada, though. All right, that's it for today. If you like this video, please like it below, share it with your friends, and if you have questions, comments, if you come from Canada, you want to add comments or your insights, you're welcome to do so right below this video and send me questions. All right, I'll see you soon for another video. Salut!